Okay, Broncos country, looks like we are live, but you guys know the drill by now. We've got to let the stream breathe for just a second here and make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Welcome into this Denver Broncos Syndicate live stream. I'm your host, Gage Madrid. Today was quite a big day in the Denver Broncos news cycle as the NFL Combine is underway from Indianapolis, Indiana. Sean Payton and George Payton both spoke with the media, and needless to say, we got a lot of information from both of the press conferences. Some news we've already talked about on the channel. The biggest news of the day, of course, being that Davis Webb is officially the new offensive play caller for the Denver Broncos. But there is still plenty more that we have yet to break down on this channel. So much so that I thought it justified going live. We've already got 5 people in the house. While we wait for a few more people to start streaming on in here, if you could just do me a big favor and smash that like button as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed, I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. Helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Additionally, if you want to go above and beyond in supporting the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon at Gage Madrid NFL. That is where you can find me over there. We've got Jackson Oviatt in the house. Good to see you. Hope you are doing well, my friend. All right, so let's go ahead and not waste any more time here. Go ahead and shut this cell phone up real quick. Please bear with me, just so we don't have to hear that annoying whistling notification sound. All right, so we got a lot to get into here. Let's just go ahead and get started. All right, so obviously, biggest news of the day, Sean Payton announced that Davis Webb will be the offensive play caller for the Denver Broncos. And he says that he believes Davis Webb will be very good at calling plays. He would not have made this move if he didn't think it was going to help the team and make the team better. He says that he'll still be involved in the offensive play calling, but it's Davis Webb's show to run. This is something that we've been wanting, or at least the collective fan base in Denver has been wanting for quite some time. Davis Webb is going to inject some new life, some new ideas into this offense, especially from a passing game perspective. You would expect that given that he's a former quarterback, so I expect we're going to see a lot more passing concepts. Davis Webb came from Cliff Kingsbury's air raid school of thinking, being his former quarterback at Texas Tech. It would not surprise me at all if some of those air raid concepts did not come to or came to Denver. I think that these air raid concepts, where you're getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers, having all 5 of your eligible receivers out in the passing pattern, and really just putting a heavy emphasis on the passing game. It's been the way that the wind has been blowing in the NFL for some time now, but I think Denver's ready to full-blown lean into it with Davis Webb. Don't get it twisted, folks. This is still going to be Sean Payton's offense. Sean Payton is still going to have a heavy emphasis on the game plan. He's going to keep his finger on the pulse of this offense at all times. However, I do believe that he's going to step out of the way and really let Davis Webb do his thing out there. Jackson says, Sean continues to earn respect. His actions as a leader do not fit the narrative that the national media tries to manipulate. I could not agree more with that. I mean, even the local media was saying stuff like Sean's arrogance would never let him turn over the play calling duties, or he was never going to step aside, all this stupid stuff. It just goes to show that Sean's willing to be a team player, and he's willing to try something new if what's working right now isn't doing the job, or if what they're doing right now isn't working. And I truly believe that from a schematic standpoint, there was nothing inherently wrong with Sean Payton's offense. However, he said that there probably is some areas where he could be better, especially getting the play call in a timely manner. We're going to talk about that in just a second here. Just 1 second. Let me get rid of the troll here. We got Justin in the house saying, hello, Gage. Good to see you, Justin. Hope you were doing well. We got Cav in the house saying, Moin Gage, greetings from I'm not even going to try. All right, well, Mönchengladbach. I have no idea. I probably butchered that, but good to see you, Cav. Hope you are doing well. So that's the big takeaway from the day, is that Sean Payton is going to transition to Davis Webb as the offensive play caller. And he said that the transition is about being quicker. It's about getting the play call in a timely manner. He said that as he gets older, he thinks more about the ramifications of play calls. What could go wrong as opposed to what could go right. He thinks about, what if the pass protection doesn't hold up long enough? What if we get blown up on the line? What if somebody runs the wrong route? He thinks about everything that could possibly go wrong. And he said that at times he's a little bit hesitant to get aggressive with his play calling. I think with Davis Webb, it's going to be a lot easier to pull the trigger on some of these aggressive play calls and try to be a little bit more dynamic with the play calling. And Payton also has indicated as he gets older, it's a little bit harder for him to physically read the play sheet. And between that and the indecisiveness, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. We got Russell Wilson. This was the problem with Russell Wilson. It was a problem with Bo Nix. Even when Jarrett Stidham was starting for the Denver Broncos, this was a problem. The play call would come in late, and they would have to burn an early timeout. So I do believe that Davis Webb is going to streamline the offensive play calling and make the overall operation a little bit smoother. Nearly perfect except for the nice. We got live. Gage Madrid says, Maverick, yeah, we got a lot of stuff to break down, so we're probably going to be live for a while here. What do you say about the miscommunication thing in the role of Mike Klis? We'll talk about that a little bit later on. I'm not going to speak to it pertaining to Mike Klis per se, but I do believe that there is stuff to talk about there. We'll do so a little bit later on. We're going to go through all this stuff basically in a chronological order. Broncos need to draft Carnell Tate. I highly doubt he's going to be available at 30, just like Maverick says. All the mock drafts that I trust are having him go somewhere in like the 15 to even higher than that range. So, yeah, I don't think Carnell Tate's going to be available at 30. If you were to get him, you'd have to trade up to get him. But based on the way Sean Payton was talking, we might not see a big-time move at wide receiver after all. We'll get into that a little bit later on as well. But to wrap a bow on this, Sean just believes that streamlining the offensive play calling process, getting the call into Bo Nix's helmet sooner, maybe injecting some of Davis Webb's concepts, it's just going to help make the offense a little bit more dynamic. So that's the main reason why Sean has made this move. And he said it himself. He wouldn't have done this if he didn't believe in Davis Webb. He said, though, that he will still call some plays on game day. I strongly suspected this from the get-go. Sean Payton is still going to say, hey, listen, if there's a big third down, I'm probably going to call this play. Or if Davis Webb calls a play and Sean Payton doesn't like it, Sean has every right to go, no, I'm not sure about this play in this given situation, Davis. Let's go ahead and run this instead. I fully expect that from Sean Payton. I don't think it's going to be a relationship like Andy Reid and his offensive play caller where Andy Reid dictates the plays. He decides what play they're going to call, but the offensive coordinator, either Matt Nagy or Eric Bieniemy, they're the one who actually relays that information into Patrick Mahomes' helmet. I don't think that's going to be the situation here. I truly believe that Davis Webb is going to have the freedom to call his own plays when he wants to call them, but Sean Payton's going to be kind of the backup just to make sure that everything is going the way that he wants it to go. And if there's a big third down where Sean wants a specific play called, you can bet your ass that that specific play is going to get called. Maverick says, I like it when you're live. I enjoy going live. I really should do it more often. So, yeah, I'm thinking we're going to have a lot more live streams moving forward here because it's a great way to interact with the audience. It's a great way to get some pretty low effort content, honestly, out on the channel. So, yeah, I think that we should definitely start going live more often. Hopefully, connection holds up well enough for the entirety of this stream. So now let's go ahead and get into some of the other news here. And we're going to get into the Bo Nix injury news with Mike Kliss because Cav did ask about this. There was a miscommunication with Bo Nix's injury, and Mike Kliss reported it, and it kind of got overblown and taken out of context. I don't think Kliss himself inherently did anything wrong, but I do believe that the media blew it up because that's what the national and the local media does, quite frankly. They blow stuff out of proportion. Payton said he's not going to answer specifics about Bo Nix's injury, how his recovery is going, beyond saying that it's going well. That's just for competitive reasons. But he said in regards to the injury being predisposed, that's what Sean kind of said in his press conference, and then Mike Kliss reported it. What actually happened was there was a fracture in Bo Nix's foot that was pre-existing, and that's why the injury was going to happen at some point regardless. There was a little micro fracture, and it became a bigger fracture. They discovered that upon surgery. That's basically what happened there. I'm not going to get too much further into it because I think it's just a bunch of media garbage that doesn't deserve the time of day, quite frankly. But I did want to at least address it because there is going to be a lot of hoopla out there from both the local and national media. Back to more interesting stuff. Payton indicated that running back, linebacker, and tight end will be positions to address this offseason. He specifically said linebacker a couple of times because two of them are going to be free agents on our roster. That's referring, of course, to Justin Sternod and Alex Singleton. A report came out not too long ago that the Broncos were going to look to extend Alex Singleton. There wasn't confirmation for that from either Sean Payton or George Payton, but George Payton did indicate that they would like to have Singleton back as well as Justin Sternod, but they're still going to look at the draft regardless and look at the free agency market to see if anybody becomes available. I made a video about this earlier today. The quality of free agency has really diminished over the last couple of years. You see less and less good free agents hit the market. You see a lot of teams make an effort to retain their good players. I saw a comment on that video that was pretty interesting. Because there are less and less franchise quarterbacks out there, maybe it makes to where some of these teams have a greater ability to pay these players. It makes sense, to be perfectly honest. And I just think a lot of the smart teams out there are prioritizing keeping their good players in the building. It's all about drafting and developing, and that's what the Denver Broncos need to do. They need to draft and develop. I believe that a lot of these positions of need, linebacker, tight end, running back, your best bet to solve these positions, the problems of these positions long-term, is the draft. You've got to draft guys and you've got to develop them. They've made some good efforts at these positions. I mean, they drafted and developed Justin Sternod, and hopefully they keep him in the building. R.J. Harvey, they drafted him. Hopefully he developed. You've got to draft a tight end. You have to draft a tight end at some point, hopefully at some point high. I know everybody's pipe dream is Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, Bo Nix's former teammate. Unfortunately, I don't think that Sadiq is going to be available. I think that he's going to be drafted well before the Denver Broncos pick, so that's unfortunately going to throw a wrench into things. But there are still some really good tight ends a little bit later on in this draft class. It's not as deep of a tight end class as last year, but that's one position I really want to look towards the draft. Linebacker, if they bring back Alex Singleton and Justin Sternod, then you probably aren't going to look towards free agency. If you let one of those guys walk, then maybe you do end up bringing back Justin Sternod. That's the guy you would most likely bring back. And then you would probably bring in a free agent and still dip into the draft for added depth at that position. Let Singleton go. That's the popular opinion here in Denver. I know that's the opinion that I have, but it seems that the team wants to go in a different direction. They like Singleton. They like what he brings to the team from a leadership perspective. They like what he brings on the field, even though I just don't see it, to be perfectly honest. I strongly suspect that he's going to be back. I hope we get another 6.0 running back like JK and TD number 30. Speaking of JK, George Payton indicated, not in his press conference, but in an interview afterwards with KOA Radio, they would love to get Dobbins back. I think J.K. Dobbins coming back to Denver is a really, really strong option that we should pay attention to. One of the top running backs in free agency came off the market because it was announced Breece Hall is going to be franchise tagged. I believe that the Broncos are going to prioritize bringing back J.K. Dobbins and maybe drafting a running back as opposed to depending on free agency because of my earlier point, the quality of free agency has just greatly diminished. I'm from Brazil. Right on. I hope the Broncos can play in Brazil one day. That'd be kind of fun. I might go down there for that. Eli Stowers, even though he's not a true inline tight end, I'd be okay with that because he could be your Evan Ingram replacement. He could be more of your receiving tight end. But I haven't scouted a whole lot of the tight ends yet. I'm in free agency mode right now. Once free agency passes, we'll have a lot more draft conversations here on this channel. KB says it's sad, but they need to cut Drew Sanders. I mean, I think they'll keep Drew Sanders here at least through the offseason, through training camp in the preseason. Let him see if he can prove himself. If he can, great. If he can't, well, you probably just cut your losses at that point. JK, RJ, rookie split, save JK for the playoffs. I'd even say bring in a veteran, bring back JK, have RJ Harvey, and then maybe bring in a rookie or bring Jaleel back. I wouldn't hate that, quite frankly, because you need somebody that can spell J.K. Dobbins and keep him fresh. Especially if you were to bring in another injury-prone running back to keep each other fresh, that would make sense. I'd be so down for Tyler Algier. I really would. I love Tyler Algier's game. Or David Montgomery, if he gets cut, maybe a trade for him. Maverick says he's deep in scouting mode right now. I will be here within the next few weeks once free agency passes. I'm doing a little bit of light scouting, but most of my attention right now is free agency. He'll be on the cheaper side. I don't know if he's going to be on the cheaper side. I think that some team out there is going to recognize his potential long-term. He's been pigeonholed in that second string role in Atlanta. So I don't know. I think there's going to be some team out there that recognizes. Sorry about that. I meant to hit the switch tab button. I didn't mean to hit the exit out button. Let's go ahead and bring my shared screen back in. Puka, listen, that's a very worthy conversation to have, but not on my sports channel. Thank you very much. I'm not a fan of paying Breece or K9 $13+ million. I'm right there with you. I'm not a fan of giving running backs that much money unless they are a special transcendent talent, and I just don't see that with K9. And with Breece, yeah, but he's still injury prone. He's had injuries in his career, so I don't know. I don't think I'd be for giving him that much money. Algier sounds Austrian or Bavarian. I don't think he is, but I'm not sure exactly on that. Let's go ahead and get back into the press conference here. Payton's next point was that he wants the team to extend George Payton. He said that that's a long time coming, but that's not his department, so he's going to stay out of those particular matters. Hopefully it happens. George Payton addressed that as well. We'll talk about that when we get to him. He was then asked about the joker position, a running back or tight end with elite receiving traits. Payton said the team's always looking for one, but they are hard to find. And you can't substitute them for a quasi-joker such as an Evan Ingram or an RJ Harvey. It's not going to work, man. You need a true difference maker. You need a true elite player that can play inline tight end or a true running back who can be both a dynamic ball carrier and a dynamic receiver. And right now, the Broncos don't have that type of player on their roster. You're always looking, but just like Payton said, they're hard to find. Kenyon Sadiq, I would definitely put into that Joker category. That's why he's probably going to get drafted a lot sooner than pick number 30. Would you swing at Austin Eckler? I don't know, man. I feel like Eckler's beyond his prime years, and he's coming off of a torn Achilles, so not unless it's for the vet minimum, and even then, I just don't think he fits. Kind of redundant with R.J. Harvey, in my opinion. Payton has said that the Broncos have seen growth from the wide receivers they drafted, of course, indicating Marvin Mims, Pat Bryant, and Troy Franklin. I know that this scares the living hell out of a lot of members of Broncos country. They're concerned that this means that it's not gonna lead to a big move at the wide receiver position for the Denver Broncos. I don't know, man. If the Broncos get complacent at wide receiver and don't make some big move, ooh, man, it's going to really concern me. It's going to really concern me if they don't make some big move, because I think we proved over this last season the wide receiver room in its current state just isn't good enough. The drops, the inconsistencies with route running, it just is not good enough, man. So you've got to make a move, and I'm hoping, quite frankly, that Sean Payton is just playing poker here and not trying to show his true hand and show his true intentions as to what he wants to do at the wide receiver position, because right now I am concerned. What do you think Marvin Mims hitting free agency in 2027? Will he get a deal during the season? Only if he earns it, and as of right now, I don't think he's earned it. Is Romeo Doubs an option? I certainly think he is. We'll probably make a video about Romeo Doubs at some point before free agency starts. I think he could be in the cards for the Denver Broncos for sure. So let's go ahead and get back here. This was another tweet about the ankle injury. Sean confirmed that the predisposed part was just a reference to a pre-existing fracture discovered via the surgeons. So, again, nothing really to see here, folks. I'm not going to spend much more time on that. One thing to note, Benjamin Albright tweeted this. Payton specifically mentioned offensive line twice in this press conference. I'd say the position on the offensive line to keep an eye on is left guard. Do they move on from Ben Powers? I have it written down right here. You can save $12.73 million if you move on from Ben Powers and designate him as a post-June 1st cut. I think Denver has at least a temporary solution at that position in Alex Palczewski, who is going to be he's going to be a restricted free agent, but you can bring him back really easily. I strongly suspect that the Denver Broncos will do that. Do you move on from Ben Powers and maybe think about drafting a long-term replacement in the third, maybe the fourth round? I could definitely see that happening. Memester says Evan Ingram signing sucked. Me personally, I think we should trade up for Carnell Tate. It's going to be hard, but it's worth it. We were just talking about Carnell Tate. I don't think that the Broncos are going to be able to get him at 30. So like you said, you're probably going to have to trade up for him. I don't know if Denver's going to be in the market to do that, but we will definitely keep an eye on it. Algier seems to be a Bavarian name. Okay, interesting. Tyler Higbee, possible. Definitely possible, but he's another guy who's kind of on the tail end of his career, has dealt with a lot of injuries, so that's something you have to take into account with Tyler Higbee. He missed significant time this past year and the year before that, tore his ACL in that playoff game up in Detroit a couple of years ago. So that's definitely a concern with him, and it's very similar to the concerns with Evan Ingram, quite frankly. We got Roan in the house. Good to see you. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Coming back over here to the Payton press conference. So now we have moved in here to George Payton, and he talked about Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad. This is per Luca Evans. We'd love to have those guys back. If we let those guys go, what are we doing? He emphasized regardless of what's in the draft. Clearly, the Broncos have a much different opinion about Alex Singleton than I do. As far as Justin Sternad, I thought he made a lot of nice steps forward last year, and I thought that Justin Sternad definitely earned a new contract. Alex Singleton, I cannot justify giving him a new deal. I just cannot do it. He can't cover. He's lost his sideline-to-sideline speed, which wasn't great to begin with. Then he tore his ACL and zapped any burst that he had there. He's decent in run defense, but that's about it. I really don't think that Alex Singleton would be the right move for this team. Clearly, George Paton feels differently, and I just don't think it makes any sense. Maybe trade up for Jeremiah Love. I don't know. You're probably going to have to get towards the top 10 to get him. I believe Kansas City picks at 9, and that has been a top destination for him since the beginning of the process. We need to draft an offensive tackle. Last time was 2017 with Bowles. I agree. Just as pure depth, you've got to draft an offensive tackle. You need some long-term developmental players because let's just face it, Garrett Bowles, no spring chicken. Mike McGlinchey, no spring chicken. Are you a fan of no more plays being sideways passes on 3rd and 10? I'm warning you right now, you're still going to see those with Davis Webb. This is still going to be the same offensive system, but at the end of the day, you are going to hopefully see less of these screen passes because your run game's working better and you're able to stay on schedule by running the football as opposed to depending on these screen passes to be your quasi-run game and make up for a complete lack of production on that side of the ball. Alex Singleton is a linebackers coach. I would definitely be down for that as soon as his career ends, but I don't know if he wants to get into the coaching world or not because that's a lot of hours you have to spend dedicated to the job, arguably even more than as a player. So I don't know if Alex Singleton is going to be about that life or not. RPOs, yeah, I imagine that the RPOs are going to come up in this offense, especially because of the air raid system. You see a lot of various RPOs in Cliff Kingsbury's air raid system. Not saying this is going to be a replica of Cliff Kingsbury's system, but I believe a lot of the core concepts are going to be taken from that particular system. So come back over here. George Paton asked about R.J. Harvey. Last year, Harvey was said to be the pet cat at running back, viewed basically as a 3-down back, and Paton emphasized that they still view him as a pet cat and pointed to the dynamicism with the ball in his hands, and they couldn't be more happy about RJ. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this clip here.
RJ Harvey, your guys' pet cat, through the process after last year's draft. Do you guys still view him as a potential 3-down back in this league?
Yeah. We do. I mean, he's still a pet cat. I thought he had a really good year for a rookie and everything that was thrown to him. And then, Dobbins gets hurt and he comes in and he can just do, he's dynamic with the ball in the hands. And you saw it at all stages during the season, big games, Jacksonville, Buffalo playoff, him with the ball in the hands, his route running ability. I thought he improved first and second down. The game slowed down for him as the season went on. Couldn't be more happy about RJ.
Hey, George,
Yeah, so I definitely agree with some of what George said there. I believe that R.J. Harvey got better as the season went on, and he definitely is a dynamic player in the receiving game with the ball in his hands. It's as a runner of the football where R.J. Harvey has a lot of shortcomings. He struggles with vision, especially between the tackles. He wants to bounce everything to the outside, and as Rodney points out here, he's not a true thumper running back. I'd argue that J.K. Dobbins is, and he complements Harvey's game rather well. Unfortunately, you just cannot depend on Dobbins to stay healthy for all 17 games. I think that Harvey showed a lot of promise as a rookie, but is he a true 3-down back? I don't know about that. I'd say he's more of a 3rd down back right now. You can use him as a receiver, and he's quite effective as a receiver. There are running backs out there who have made long careers in the NFL as pure receivers. Guys like Theo Riddick, James White. But as of right now, he's not a good runner of the football. And that's where he needs to get better, in my opinion. How would you feel to have Travis Etienne or Alvin Kamara on the team? Well, Alvin Kamara you'd have to trade for. He's under a pretty large contract with the Saints still, so I don't think that would happen. Travis Etienne, for me, is kind of redundant with RJ Harvey. He is a better runner of the football, but in order to use Travis Etienne to his highest potential, you probably wouldn't want to have an RJ Harvey type player on your roster because you want Harvey to take those snaps as the receiving back. David Montgomery, maybe. I'd love David Montgomery. I would too. And I think that David Montgomery is a strong, strong possibility. We're going to make a video about him most likely within the next couple of days. So, yeah, just know that David Montgomery is very much in play for the Broncos as of right now. Don't forget about Danny Woodhead. That's another great example. My point, though, is there are running backs out there that have made great careers just as pure receivers, and I'd say RJ Harvey, especially being 25 years old, which is pretty up there for a running back, he might be more destined for that type of career as opposed to an Alvin Kamara type career where he's a true joker, difference maker on all three downs. But I've been wrong about plenty of players on this roster in my 4 years of doing this. I've been wrong about the development of players. Nick Bonito probably being my biggest miss there. So maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe RJ Harvey does develop into that type of player. The team certainly sees the vision. I may not, but ultimately I don't have to. I'm just an analyst who literally is making YouTube videos and doing live streams in a closet. But I do think that the team has a vision, and ultimately that's what matters at the end of the day. Coming back over here, George Payton said that he's not too surprised at Sean Payton's Davis Webb play calling announcement. I think he pondered it like he said midway through the season. I missed that comment from Sean, but that's definitely interesting. They were thinking about making that move midway through the season. So clearly Sean recognized something had to change. Like I said earlier, I don't think there was anything inherently wrong with the X's and O's of Sean Payton's scheme, but getting the play call in a more timely manner. That way you don't have to burn early timeouts because those timeouts should be viewed like gold. You only want to use those timeouts in 2-minute situations, especially in the second half. If you burn an early timeout, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. So I believe that they are going to streamline that process, and it is interesting that they were thinking about doing that midway through last season. Do you see us moving on from Jaleel? I don't, and that's not the popular opinion here in Denver, but what I think a lot of people fail to recognize is that Sean loves Jaleel. Jaleel is basically Sean's teacher's pet, and Sean loves what Jaleel can do as a ball carrier. All Jaleel needs is a crease, and he can hit the hole. He averaged over 5 yards per carry last year. I thought Jaleel should have gotten more opportunities last season. I think that he's going to stick around, even if it's just a practice squad role. So the notion that the team moves on from Jaleel, I just don't see that happening. I really don't. Do we upgrade the QB2 position? It's definitely possible. Jarrett Stidham did not play well in that AFC Championship game and did the one thing that you can't do as a backup quarterback. Put the ball in harm's way, committed a stupid turnover, and that's what led to you losing that game. So if you need Jarrett Stidham to come in for another situation like that, you just can't trust him. So I'd say yes, you do need to upgrade at that position. I've even entertained bringing Zach Wilson back. He's going to be a free agent this year. I liked Wilson's growth and development as a quarterback on this roster, even though he was just QB3. That's definitely something to think about. Or maybe you draft a long-term backup. I'd still like to have a veteran in the building if they go to the draft for a backup quarterback, have a veteran in his QB3. But Jarrett Stidham did not play well in that game and did nothing to give me confidence in him moving forward. So as far as I'm concerned, he should be gone. Maybe ownership told him to give up play calling. I doubt that. I think Sean just recognized it was time. Jaleel is good depth. I agree, and I think Sean Payton agrees as well. Please move on from Bidet. Yeah, I think Bidet's gone. I strongly doubt Bidet's going to be back. Chest pass, enough said, for sure. I'd be down to bring Zach Wilson. I would too. I definitely would too. Stiddy played well before the snow, though. I don't think he did, to be perfectly honest. He had that deep touchdown, but from the first snap, he looked panicked under pressure, and that's always been his bugaboo. He struggles under pressure and makes some of his ugliest plays when he's under pressure. That turnover that he had, it was before the snow, and he was under pressure on that play. So as far as backup quarterbacks go, I think you could do a lot better. And Bo Nix, he's been a pretty healthy player throughout his career. He's played through injuries, and he's been on the field, but you just cannot trust Jarrett Stidham if he has to go in there at this point in time. Blake Watson, I believe, is on the Titans roster right now. He was on their practice squad, and I'm pretty sure that they signed him to a futures deal. Do we see more reps for Frank Crum? He was awesome. We might. I think the Broncos like Frank Crum long-term as a swing tackle. They certainly like him in those jumbo packages. So I think we'll certainly see more of those jumbo packages, and maybe they think he's a potential long-term starter for them as Mike McGlinchey and Garrett Bowles get a little bit older. You never know, but I remember in the pre-draft process, Sean Payton was enamored with Frank Crum and was really happy to get him as an undrafted free agent. Preseason performance doesn't equal regular season playoff performance. I agree. I completely agree. Jarrett Stidham played well in preseason, played well in training camp, but when he gets out there in the biggest game of his life, he completely craps the bed. For sure, Nick, but Jarrett Stidham didn't do himself any favors in that game either. Not sure why people were so high on Stidham, even saying he could start over Bo. I know there are some analysts out there that were pushing that narrative, Joe A-NFL, but yeah, no, I think that AFC Championship game clearly proved that Bo Nix is a franchise quarterback, and he is the difference maker in this offense. What's going on with Bo? Because I just came in. Kyle, it's nothing to really read into. There was just a little miscommunication, and the national media and even some of the local media did what they always do and blew it out of proportion. There's nothing to read into. The relationship between Sean and Bo is completely fine, and yeah, it's just a bunch of media garbage, quite frankly. I love Crum. Do you see Bo coming back stronger? I do. This is an injury that he's bounced back from before. It's not something that any doctors have indicated should be an issue long term. He's still young, even though the national media and some of the haters and trolls out there will tell you that he's an old player. He's not. He's still a young player. So, yeah, I believe that Bo Nix is going to be back and better than ever. Should you prefer week 1 Bo versus Maine? That might be fun, man. I'd keep an eye on that for sure. Yes, it was just the ankle drama, BK, and the media blowing everything out of proportion, as they always do. Let's get back into the press conference here. I believe we have a few more tweets to go. Sean Payton said the only thing at times holding Marvin Mims back is the rotation. This was Zach Stevens that tweeted this out. And I agree with that to an extent, but Mims' route running still has issues. If you look at that pick that Christian Gonzalez had in the AFC Championship game, it was because Marvin Mims ran a shitty route. He ran a really shitty route, and Gonzalez basically ran the route for him. So until Mims gets better in those areas, I don't think he's earned more playing time for this team. Regardless of what Sean Payton wants to try to push there, until his route running gets better, I don't think that Marvin Mims deserves to be on the field as a receiver. He certainly has earned it as a punt returner and as a special teams guy, but as a receiver, I don't think so. I really don't. I know the draft is a long way away, but who do you think the Broncos should target? I don't have specific prospect names for you as of right now. I'm barely into that process, but I do think that tight end, wide receiver, running back, inside linebacker, those are all positions that the Broncos should target. No, I am not going to Indianapolis, unfortunately. It's just not financially in the cards. Roan says, it's funny how grown men are dodging the draft, especially quarterbacks, to not play for the Jets. Hey, man, with the new era of NIL, guys are making more money by staying in college. So I'd rather stay in college, get that experience, and not have the pressure of playing for a dumpster fire organization in the largest media market in the entire league. With Webb calling plays, do we consider bringing in a smaller wide receiver? I don't know about a smaller wide receiver, but maybe another speedy receiver. Rashid Shaheed is definitely a guy I would keep an eye on. Imagine if we drafted Ibuka last year with this offense with Bo. Yeah, it would have been fun. I definitely think it would have been fun, but they've got a long-term vision for Jahdae Barron. George Payton actually talked about that. We'll talk about that in just a second. So I don't think the Barron pick was inherently bad, but I think we can all agree that Emeka Egbuka would have been fun in this offense last year, certainly. George Payton, a little compliment to Davis Webb, said he's highly confident. Payton says that he believes this is a good linebacker draft class. I like the depth of this class. Added, it can be difficult for guys to play right away. I do think there are a couple of linebackers out there who could play right away in this draft class. Jacob Rodriguez is probably the top one for me. So there are some guys. You can get some day one starters at that position in this year's draft. And I don't think that's something that occurs in every single draft at the off-ball inside linebacker position. Wan'Dale Robinson certainly is one to keep an eye on. BK says, man, we should have traded for Shaheed when we had the chance. A lot of us wanted him. I wanted him bad, man. He's got that dynamic speed. He's even faster than Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin. He's a better route runner. I would have loved to have had him here, man. And there's still a chance in free agency, but it's not as likely as it would have been in this past trade cycle when you could have got him pretty easily. Caden Ellis, yes, I think that's definitely possible. I have seen some rumors out there about the Broncos maybe trading away Jonah Ellis and capitalizing on all the depth they have at the edge rush position. I would not do that. You've got Dondre Tillman. He's set to be an exclusive rights free agent. If anything, I'd bring him back on a tender and maybe try to trade him. But Jonah Ellis is a guy I want to keep here. And if Jonah stays, I definitely would think Caden could come here and play with his brother. And we all know that Sean Payton has an infatuation with Ellis brothers. I don't know if it makes sense from a financial perspective. I haven't looked at the numbers, but they did just pay Jonathan Cooper. So I don't know if Denver wants to move on after just giving him that big deal. You know what I'm saying? We already got this here with Singleton and Justin Strnad. Payton added to that, saying we see those guys as Broncos. I feel like Singleton would not be the right move. Justin Strnad, I would feel good about. Payton said that the Broncos have must on offense, defense, and special teams. Special teams is interesting. I don't know if he's referring to kicker there. I don't know if he's referring to punter there. I don't think he's referring to punter because Proshaw was awesome. I don't know if he's referring to other guys on special teams. I think we all know that they have must-haves on offense and defense, but special teams I do find a little bit interesting. Hugh Robinson needs more snaps. I think Jonah can be trade bait. It's not out of the realm of possibilities, but I don't think it happens this year. I think Singleton should be a better trade. He's an unrestricted free agent, so you're not going to be able to trade him. He's going to hit the open market unless the Broncos re-sign him. Any word if we trade Moss? I strongly doubt it. It is possible because he's in a contract year, but I strongly doubt it. Trade Cooper before you trade Ellis. Again, I just don't know if it makes sense from a financial perspective. Of course, they're going to say we want them back. What else are they supposed to say? They suck. That's fair. That's definitely fair. Maybe they're just kind of playing poker there. No one is trading for Singleton. No, definitely not. Even if he were on the trade market, he'd be one of those players that if Denver were looking to move on and he wasn't a free agent, they'd have to cut him. Nobody would trade for him. Nakobe Dean, I think the Eagles are going to try to retain him, but it's possible. I don't really like Nakobe Dean as a coverage player, but we'll see. So let's get back over here. George Payton, no stone unturned. We're looking at everything. He emphasized that. He talked about Jahdae Barron, saying that he's on the right track or right on track. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what he had to say about Barron here.
Good problem to have, Mike. Really good problem to have. I thought Jahdae took big steps. Sertan gets hurt, he goes in and plays a major role, and we win, I think, all 3 games, whatever, 2 games, I can't remember. He's right on track. Jaquan had a great year. Our secondary had a really, it's Moss and Sertan, and we love the depth. I think it's a great problem to have, and today's just going to keep getting better and better. It's a really great problem to have.
So with Barron, I truly believe that the Broncos drafted him with the idea of him being the starting nickel in 2025. The thing that threw a wrench into that was Jaquan McMillan coming in and playing some of the best football of his life. I think the Broncos still have a long-term vision for Barron, but they also said that they want to bring Jaquan McMillan back. So Barron is still going to be a role player unless they trade away Riley Moss. I like Cooper, but he disappeared in the last half of the season in the playoffs, like half a sack in the last 9 games. That is fair, but again, I just don't know if it makes sense from a financial perspective. Maybe Denver made a mistake by paying him. We should have kept Cody Barton. I disagree with that, but Barton wasn't very good in Tennessee. He's the definition of mid as a linebacker. Maybe would have been slightly better than what the Broncos currently have, but not by much. Predict Jaquan's contract. I'm thinking 4 years, $48 million. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe 3 years, $36 million. Somewhere in that $12 million a year range. I'm following the JSN extension news. Elite wide receiver money is going to be crazy, $40 million plus. That's why I don't think Denver's going to make a crazy trade, because then they'd have to pay that player a crap ton of money after trading away a bunch of draft assets. I just don't think it makes sense, which is why I want Denzel Boston. Dude had 0 drops in college. I'd be down for Denzel Boston. I definitely would be down for Denzel Boston. I think he can develop long-term and be a wide receiver 1 in a pretty short amount of time. Can we hire the best Broncos channel podcaster, Gage Madrid, as a senior scout manager for Denver? I do a terrible job, man. I definitely am not that good, but I definitely appreciate the compliment. They want to have the cap for Walker, too. Sad to see JFM hit free agency. I agree. I don't understand why the Broncos aren't prioritizing paying him. I think he's a difference maker on that defensive line, especially as a pass rusher. Hopefully they can work something out before free agency, or maybe bring him back during free agency, but I don't think it happens. JFM actually did indicate one potential destination for him, and that's the Tennessee Titans. His old teammate, both with the Rams and the Jets, Tanzel Smart, is now a defensive line coach there. Robert Saleh's there, his old head coach. I could definitely see the Tennessee Titans as a destination for John Franklin Myers. Keep an eye on that one, Broncos country. Do we trade up or trade down this draft? I mean, history indicates no. George Payton and Sean Payton haven't been ones to trade up or trade down. They're happy to stay where they are. I think it's more likely they trade down as opposed to trade up, because they've got the 30th overall pick. That's closer in value to a second-round pick than it is to a first-round pick. So maybe if you want to trade down, get multiple second-round picks, I could see that. It's not going to be there at 30. We'd have to trade up. Hard to keep everyone in the NFL. That's why I love the salary cap. I mean, it prevents teams like the Los Angeles Dodgers in the NFL, so I would be for that. You want to play for Saleh? Yeah, I would. Who wouldn't want to play for Robert Saleh? He's an awesome coach. How much are the Chiefs in dead cap? They're about to get out of it. They were $40 million in dead cap hit, but they are finally out of it by restructuring Patrick Mahomes. They cut Derek Nottie, so maybe they make another move, but I'd say right now they're pretty close to cap compliant. I really like Q Robinson. I think he's really underrated and not really talked about. I think he's got a lot of potential as a pass rusher. As a run defender, I'm not so sure yet, but as a pass rusher, definitely. Trade up in this one. Well, it would add to the notion that this is an all-in season for the Denver Broncos, and they're putting all their chips on the table this season to win a Super Bowl. Broncos want Jaquan McMillan back. We talked about that. Said teams might call about him. He is a restricted free agent, but I believe that McMillan is going to be back unless Denver gets blown the F away with a trade offer, i.e. a first-round pick or something crazy like that. And then finally, George Payton said he'll always add the offensive and defensive lines, even if they're great. It's the old notion you can never have too many good offensive linemen or defensive linemen. I really like Q Robinson. Oh, already got that one. Sorry. What do you think of the tight end Roush? I have not scouted Roush yet. Mendoza is going to suck. Listen, I'll be the first to say I don't think Mendoza is a transcendent talent at the quarterback position, and he's going to a team that most likely is going to screw up his development. So I'd say it's more likely that Mendoza is a bust than a success right now, more so because of the team that he's going to. Who are some free agents who could replace Jim? I say, or JFM, I'm assuming. I say AJ Epinesa from the Bills. Epinesa's more of an edge rusher, and JFM, he's an interior defensive lineman. So I'd keep an eye more on the interior defensive line. Ioma Uwazurike is in the building right now, and they really like him long term. Maybe they view him as a potential starter on the D-line. I also like Lee Hunter in the draft. Keep an eye on him. He's a bigger body, and I've talked about wanting a bigger body defensive tackle in this draft or in free agency for quite a while now. I see a 3-year extension for Macmillan. Yeah, 3 years, $36 million, maybe $448, somewhere in that $12 million a year range. I wish we can get Jeremiah Love. He's going to be great. I'm worried Kansas City's going to get him. I really am. I hope Mendoza doesn't do good in Las Vegas. Imagine 4 franchise quarterbacks in one division. Hey, man, I don't think the Raiders are going to do him any favors in his development. Still the Raiders. They're always going to be the basement dwellers of this division. Does Sean take play calling duties back when Webb leaves for a head coaching gig? That is an interesting conversation. Does he? I don't know. Maybe he's thinking about long-term, somebody to succeed Webb. Logan Kilgore succeeded him as quarterbacks coach, so maybe he's thinking about Kilgore as a long-term play caller once Davis Webb leaves. When Kilgore leaves, that's when the conversation gets a little bit more interesting. Yeah, I really don't, man. Both of them in Kansas City would scare the living hell out of me. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wind this stream down. We got into every talking point here for both Sean Payton and George Paton. We are getting closer and closer to free agency beginning. As we go throughout the remainder of this process, expect a lot more content on free agency. And as we get into the draft, expect a lot of content there as well. Be sure to smash that like button as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. Helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Additionally, if you want to go above and beyond in supporting the channel, please consider becoming a channel member or even better, a Patreon supporter. Patreon is at Gage Madrid NFL. I don't have a definitive time for the next stream, but we will be going live again soon. This was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, Broncos country. And until next time, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.